Liverpool spanked Tottenham 6-3 to top the pile at Christmas. It was another goal fest, and Tottenham, not for the first time, on the wrong end of the scoreline. Spurs provide the entertainment value again in a House of Horrors performance, but have they become every neutral second team in the process? As for Ange Postecoglou, well, his Tottenham side have conceded 13 goals in their past 3 home matches, but don't, for God's sake, ask him if he's going to change their style.
I've been really, really patient the last 18 months, sitting up here answering the same questions over and over again. If people want me to change my approach, it's not going to change. Like, we're doing it for a reason. We're doing it because we think it'll help us be successful. If people don't understand the circumstances we're in at the moment and the challenges we have from a team and squad perspective, which are as obvious as you want to make them. Now, I get the idea that people think that I should just flick the switch and change, and somehow that would miraculously make us a different team. But it is what it is. I'm just going to continue staying focused on trying to build this team to be the team we want. And in the interim, we're going to have to accept that there are going to be challenges along the way.
So you can tell it in his voice, Martin. I've been really patient, answering the same questions over and over again. If people want me to change my approach, it's not going to change. He's not for changing.
No, in the press conference, he looks exhausted to me. He looked bemused. It was a painful day for Spurs fans. He said that there was not enough, the energy levels needed to compete weren't there. This is a very good Liverpool team. As we reach the halfway stage of the season, they look as if they're going to run away with it. But we're only at Christmas. He's not for changing his style, Jim. He's very bullish. He's talking about flicking switches. It's like when any new manager comes in, if I take you through my career, when I happened to fall into the path of Arsene Wenger, which was an amazing turnaround for me, he came on board with really strong views of how we should play. And we reached a stage where Lauren and Ashley Cole were being told, attack. On the pitch, there has to be a player or players that say, okay, let's get some balance. Boss, we need some balance. I was trying to bring that on the pitch with other players around me that were used to playing under George Graham. It seems here as if they're hell-bent on playing this high press, high line from the back, and they're getting punished. I sympathise, Jim. They've got a whole rake of injuries. They're 2 central defenders. They're playing, I suppose, a young kid in one of those berths. But the manager probably needs to adjust, Jim. That scoreline, 3-6, it's unbelievable. It's just like crazy time. And he's the manager. Yeah. And he has to. Look, I get it. His beef shouldn't be with us. It should be about results. It should be about creating a balance for his team. And even with the best players at the club available, they'd have lost that game yesterday.
But tell me more about that theme of game management, Martin. Is that down to the players or is it down to the manager?
Well, it's a quiet word. It's kind of like, okay, guys, I want you up on that halfway line. There needs to be players, senior players, that ask the players to adjust. So you have to adjust. You have to. There was a goal scored at the end. I think Szoboszlai plays a little 1-2 and runs in behind. You've got to drop off and deal with that. You've got to be able to read the game. I saw them before the game as a 4, pressing. I didn't see anyone making runs behind them. They need to do better on the training pitch. They need to find solutions so that the team can actually read, Jim, what to do. That message isn't getting across. So there needs to be work done on the pitch. We saw the manager come in, didn't we, at the beginning against Chelsea, went down to 9 men, and I said this many times, and he was hell-bent on playing the same way. I feared for them then. I think this manager is a really good manager. But he has to make adjustments. Someone in his staff has to say, right, we keep losing games. That's 8 games they've lost now. That is an embarrassment. Every club is trying to deal with injuries, Jim. Okay, they're besieged with injuries in the central defence position.
Yeah.
But I don't think even if those 2 were playing, and maybe some of their injuries are linked to the crazy way that they're having to run back to retrieve things. They've both got muscle injuries. Van der Ven has got hamstring injuries 4 times now. He's pulled his hamstring. Why? Because he's having to retrieve things with almost ridiculous positions. They don't adjust as a group. He has to take a good look at himself, the manager. I think he loves what he does, and we in our job have to evaluate and we have to analyse. And right at the moment, they're not nearly good enough, Spurs. Although I like what I see when they go forward, but unless the energy levels are there, they can't do it. It's crazy now, the way that they play. There's no management to their play, Jim.
I must admit, I hung on every word that Martin said there. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. He's not going to change. He's not.
I think he's very intolerant.
He's fed up telling us.
I think he's very intemperate with the media. And I can understand why. I've been on the other side of it, as has Martin, and people ask questions to get reactions rather than to actually gain information. And so I can understand it. And I watched him yesterday being interviewed by a Sky guy, and the Sky guy did his job for him, actually said to him, I can understand why you're losing games like this, because you've got central defenders out, you've got a goalkeeper out. And he even bit back at him.
Exactly that.
Because he's had enough of everybody. And the guy actually answered the question for him, gave him the explanation that Ange Postecoglou had given already to a BBC reporter, which is, have you guys not been watching what I'm playing with? In terms of lost central defenders, it might have had something to do with it. The Sky guy says it, and he goes, no, that's not the reason why we lost, mate. And just bit back at him. And that's the mindset he's in. I watched him against United on Thursday, and United, as I said earlier on, were awful. And Spurs were coasting. I looked at it and thought to myself, I'm watching Amber and I'm thinking, you're going to get beat 6 here. This is how bad you are. And all of a sudden, Spurs decide to give Man United a couple of goals, entirely down to the goalkeeper, entirely down to ridiculousness, but ultimately they made a game of it. In this game, they came up against opposition that were just better. And I look at it and say, without wanting to seem as if I'm defending Tottenham, I look at Tottenham and say, there are 2 games this season that stand out for me that really showed that Tottenham are something that needs to get themselves together, losing to Crystal Palace and losing to Ipswich. If they'd won those 2 games, which, by the way, they should have won, on form rather than on their performances, they'd be sitting 5th in the league and no one would be talking now. They'd say, oh, that was a bad game, Liverpool beat Spurs 6-3. They'd be in the Europa League, they'd be in the semi-finals of the Cup, and they'd be 5th in the league. Now, I realise if my aunt was my uncle, but I actually believe that Ange Postecoglou should live and die by his own decisions. And if he wants to go hard or go home, that's up to him. And I maintain what he said against Chelsea was not the way it's been taken. He wants to change the culture of the club.
But you hammered Russell Martin and you hammered Vincent Kompany for doing the same thing.
Because they're going to get relegated. They got relegated. This guy, with due respect, is telling people he's going to win a trophy. He's in the semi-finals of a League Cup. He's in the Europa League. And this league is like this at this moment in time. There's nothing in it. A couple of games and teams will be in the top 6 again.
Should he this time, with the front 6 that he has, should he be doing better? So Solanke, actually, I'm liking what I see there. He's quite pacey.
Do you like Son at this moment in time? Because I don't.
Son doesn't feel like he's engaged.
No.
It just feels like, it doesn't feel for me like he's giving everything for the team. I thought Maddison shouldn't have been taken off, to be honest with you. Kulusevski, I do really like Kulusevski.
Do you win things with players like Maddison? Maddison is a good player, he's a technical player, but to me he's a Spurs player that doesn't actually win anything. He looks good on the ball, catches the eye, but when it comes down to it, when the muck and bullets are flying, are you going to win things with players like Maddison?
I don't think you can say that about him yesterday. I thought the front 6, and Basuma, Sarr in midfield, it's the issue with their fullbacks, and it's messaging to the fullbacks. So Spence we haven't seen for 2 years, and he did really well at Forest when they got promoted.
But he's miles off this level.
Yes, but he's playing on the left. But he's going. I don't understand why you're leaving those 2 central defenders just on their own and exposed, and you're sending your fullbacks into those central positions far too quickly before you've even got really good possession of the ball. They don't need to be doing that, and so that has to come from the messages from the manager.
Liverpool conceded 3 goals. This is a team that's chasing the title. That's the best team in the country right now, and Spurs smashed 3 goals past them.
And they scored 3 very good goals. Yeah. So there's something there.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.